Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this Cultural Regeneration Economic Development Decision Meeting. I'm Councillor Steve Pitt. I'm Leader of the Council, but also the Cabinet Member for this portfolio. A bit of housekeeping before we start. If the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room or public gallery by the stairwells, not attempt to use the lifts. Please assemble at the turning circle at the end of King Henry Street, not by Queen Victoria's statue as we normally would, because there's a giant ice rink in the way. And King Henry Street is that way down by the University's Park building. In order to comply with the Guildhall Trust fire marshal regulations, anyone who signed in at Guildhall reception desk should sign out and leave in the building at the end of today's meeting. Everyone speaking via a microphone will be recorded and broadcast on the website, including anyone making deputation. Actually, there aren't any today. Members of the press and public are also permitted to record the meeting on the understanding it neither disrupts the meeting nor records those stating explicitly that they do not wish to be recorded. Please can everyone use the microphones and do remember to switch them off when you have finished. We've done the introductions to say who I am, but we'll now go around the room and introduce everyone else, starting with Lisa.
Good morning, Lisa Gallagher from Democratic Services.
David.
Good morning, David Howells from Destination Marketing, Visit Portsmouth.
Jane Singh, Tourism and Marketing Manager.
Dave Percival, Library and Archive Service Manager.
Claire Watkins, Culture and Leisure Business Manager.
Owen Whiteaway, Cultural Development and Projects Officer.
Steve Curtis, Funding Manager.
Becky Alexander, Place and Markets Manager.
Jane Lemaire, Head of Economic Development and Skills.
Harry Scott, Seafront Arts Programme Officer.
Mark Collings, Seafront Operations Officer.
Claire Looney, Commissioning and Partnership Manager.
Good morning, Chair. Councillor Matthew Cordy.
Good morning, Councillor Cordy, and morning everyone else. Okay, we have apologies for absence today from Councillor Vallely, who's on ward-related business as a ward councillor. Any declarations of interest? None. Okay, in that case, we're moving on to item 3. Just to remind officers that assume that we have actually read all the meeting papers and to do a brief introduction, pulling out any key points or anything that's changed since the pre-briefing. And so item 3 is the water sports strategy pre-consultation, and we're over to Mark.
Good morning. Here this morning to inform Cabinet that the draft water sports strategy is ready for wider consultation and to seek approval to share that strategy in a public consultation. The water sports strategy is an update of the original from 2016 and is looking to maximise the benefits of the fact that we are a city surrounded by water and making the most of the ability to have water sports activities. A particular note is the number of large-scale events we have and some of the supporting water sports events that are associated with that. And we know that goes down really well with the schools and things like that. So the water sports strategy aims to build on that and maximise the opportunities.
Thank you, Mark. Councillor Cordy, any comments or questions?
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering how, if you could clarify how the water sports strategy will address the potential impact on ongoing coastal defence works and the accessibility and safety of water sports activities in Southsea, if that's okay.
Sorry, could you just repeat the question just so I can...
Yes, no problem. I just wonder if you could clarify how the new water sports strategy will address the potential impact on ongoing coastal defence works. Obviously, we've got safety in mind when it comes to water sports activities in Southsea.
Yeah, the focus of the water sports strategy is likely to focus on activities that aren't necessarily directly associated with the new coastal works. As the waterfront progresses, there are opportunities to be had, but they are quite safe areas for water sports activities. We've got swim buoys between Canoe Lake and Coffee Cup, things like that. There are other sort of water sports opportunities that we think are available or could be available in the future. The Eastney site where the former swimming pool was sited is an opportunity for water sports activity, and that's a sort of safer end of the promenade and away from the current coastal works. So I think there is opportunity with the new coastal works development, but some of those stretches of beaches are where we would see bathing rather than water sports activities.
And Mark, is it right to say that in terms of current and historic use, as the Sea Defences project continues, there is an ongoing dialogue between Culture and Leisure and the Sea Defences team to make sure that the right signage and the right locations of everything, such as the buoys, etc., are there, and that we're considering how the development would enable those uses to continue in the future.
That's correct. Yeah, as the work progresses and things like that, it is an opportunity to highlight some of the areas that we've got and make sure that those activities are safe. And these are the good areas to swim and take part in certain activities and things like that. Yep.
Cool. Okay. Matt, anything else? No. Okay. Good. Okay. Then in terms of item 3, we are giving approval for the wider distribution of the water sports strategy to go to consultation, and the strategy will be reviewed following receipt of any responses and brought back to a future CRED meeting for adoption. So that's so approved. Thank you very much for being with us today. Next is item 4. That's the update on the monuments and memorials policy, and that's over to you, Owen.
Thank you very much. So this report details a new monuments and memorials policy to replace and update the previous policy from 2018. It details the process for inquiries and applications, new legislative guidelines such as retain and explain. It incorporates the Council's own heritage strategy, which we adopted in 2024, and contains details on the consents and permissions, funding, and the decommissioning of memorials. It also features a list of memorials in the city as well as their locations.
Thank you very much. Matt, anything from you?
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering how the Council will decide if a proposed memorial is closely related to the location.
Could you just say that again?
Yeah. How will the Council decide if a proposed memorial is closely related to its location? I know in the report it mentions that it mentions an aspect of that. I just wondered how that process works.
So I think, well, I'll let Owen come back initially. I might add some clarification.
Yeah, I'm not sure I quite understand the question. Could you repeat it again?
How will the Council, if a proposed memorial is decide if a memorial is closely related to its location?
Yeah, I suppose it depends on the inquiry and what the provenance of the memorial is. But yeah, I mean, it depends on whether, firstly, it's inside a conservation area or, you know, dependent on whether it's in a scheduled monument site. But yeah, it depends really on what the nature of the memorial is, whether it would go, you know, in a certain place. We also take advice from Historic England as well, because of course they advise on scheduled monuments and all the rest of it. So they advise on where we put memorials as well.
Is it fair to say, Owen, that it's in the initial instances, is the request a valid one? So in other words, is this something there should be a memorial to? And if it passes that test, then if there's a suggested location by the person who's asking for that memorial, it's often around whether the location that's been requested has a direct link and context to the memorial that's proposed. And if it does, then that advances it through. So there's a sort of sequential process to work through, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair, yeah.
Okay, on that basis, the way that these are laid out, papers are laid out today isn't working for me. The recommendation is for approval of the updated strategy, and that is approved. So thank you very much, Owen. Okay, next is item 5, and that's the library strategy, and over to Claire. And we're calling this towards a library strategy because it's about the process to end up with one rather than actually ending up with one.
Thank you, Leader. So the library strategy is considering how the library service is designed at the moment and how it will best meet the needs of the city's residents and communities. The draft strategy sets out a proposed overall mission underpinned by 6 objectives to guide the future development of the service. This includes an up-to-date review of policy from relevant UK professional and sector bodies, and we also included data insights and results from customer surveys that we've undertaken during the past year. The Council's libraries form a very important part of delivery of the city vision towards positive health and wellbeing, lifelong learning and culture and creativity. And via this report, as you say, we're seeking approval to put the strategy out to consultation for the public and residents to comment on the proposed objectives and mission. And then those consultation results will then be brought back in a final draft for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Really important piece of work this. We need to understand what it is that people expect from our libraries moving forward. We know we've got a fantastic library service, but we also need to make sure we are listening to the public and responding to their needs as we move forward. Councillor Cordy, anything?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm really interested in the auto-enrolment for pupils and school children. I think it's really interesting. Is there a way that you're going to sort of measure how successful that is?
So when we issue the cards to all the year reception pupils, we'll be able to monitor library usage and how that take-up's been. When we did this, it was 2012 we did this initially, so some time ago, but we did note quite a significant increase in library items that were issued in the first sort of 6 months when we rolled out the library cards. So it's something we can monitor and evaluate properly in advance of the next year's issue.
I think it's a really good initiative.
Cool. And with the hiatus, because just for anyone watching, we rolled it out in 2012, but then the GDPR changes meant that we couldn't, initially at least, navigate a way to still maintain it. Right. But we now found that way to do that, and that's why we're bringing it back.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll look forward to the outcome of the consultation, approval given to go out and consult. Okay, thank you very much. Item 6 is it says Regional Film Officer on here, but I think it's meant to say Regional Film Office. I think that's what I'm actually supposed to be reading. Claire, are you down to present, is that correct?
Thank you, Councillor Pitt. This report outlines how we hope a regional film office, which is currently being set up through the Solent Growth Partnership, will facilitate increased activity around all types of film in the city. The report is specifically looking for us to give us authority to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the newly established film office. And the film office's purpose will be to promote that Solent and Hampshire region, all the wonderful things we have to offer to the industry in the broader spectrum, as well as supporting the development of grassroots industry around filming, developing a network of film providers in all the associated facets to do with filmmaking, and to take that forward. The initial period for the work for the film office will be a 3-year period, but we very much hope it'll be a part of a longer term roadmap to actually bring and make this part of the UK a film hotspot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire. Councillor Cordy, any comments or questions?
Okay. Thank you, Claire. I think it's really important that, you've mentioned grassroots there, that it's not just big productions that are going to come and utilise this. I think Portsmouth can be a really good location venue for all ranges of budgets, and I commend you on that.
Thank you very much. I just want to acknowledge David's work on this. He's been our front person as this has developed, and it's taken up a huge amount of your time, I know that. But we're there, and we're ready to agree this and move it forward. Worth noting it's a regional partnership, and that we've made it open to any Hampshire authority who wishes to join, but that the funding and the drive behind it has come from the Solent Growth Partnership, which I currently chair, and is made up of Portsmouth, Southampton and the Isle of Wight. And particular thanks to Fareham for being the borough council who jumped out in front straight away and said, yes, we're up for doing this, which got everybody else to set up and take notice. And I know, having spoken to all the other leaders across the county, there's a lot of enthusiasm for this. I think they're all hoping that Ryan Gosling's going to just pop up every 5 minutes, or Keira Knightley or whoever. But obviously, it is an opportunity for economic growth and development. Film is a really, really important industry to this country, and we need to make sure that we're not missing out on those opportunities when they present themselves. So thanks to Claire for presenting, but thank you, David, for all the work you've done. The recommendation is that the PCC enters into a memorandum of understanding with the newly established Regional Film Office, whose purpose will be to promote the Solent and Hampshire region as a filming destination and provide a one-stop shop to production companies wishing to use film locations in the area. So that is approved. So we can crack on with that now, and I'll look forward to launching it up in London next month. Okay, item 7, that's back with you, Claire, for the seafront fees and charges update for 26-27.
It's actually going to go with the other Claire for the beginning bit, because it's actually a joint report. Apologies if it's unclear which Claire.
Claire W first, then.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, this report covers poster site fees, beach hut fees and land hire for events. Turning to the poster sites, you'll see from the report that the majority of bookings have comprised theatre, music and show productions as part of our commitment to supporting culture in the city. We've worked as one council to support our colleagues with key messaging campaigns around physical, mental health, environment and transport. And we also support our colleagues for cultural engagement across campaigns such as Victory in 80 Objects, Hot Wars Creative Markets, South Sea Food Festival and Victoria Park events. Externally, we've been promoting the city's local cinemas, theatres, arts and cultural trusts, museums and local events. And as indicated in the report, we propose to raise fees by CPI plus a small margin for the sites. And over to the other Claire now.
Other Claire?
Thank you. The Claire just has a small comment to make, which is about identifying and just highlighting one additional change to the events charges, all other events charges just having risen by CPI. Following the reopening of various sections of the new coastal areas along the seafront, we've noted a marked increase in the popularity of the space by commercial companies using it to use running events. At the moment, we don't charge for the use of pavements, understandably, but we believe that where commercial companies only, I should stress, are using spaces, there should be a charge when they're not using other land spaces. And therefore, we'd like to introduce a proposed charge of £1.50 per participant, which includes the VAT, which takes into account the time needed to process their applications through the Event Safety Advisory Group. And it also enables the better monitoring, because we then know how many are taking place on the same day. Otherwise, we're finding that race organisers are putting events on, we're not aware, and we've had some clashes, and many people using the very narrow bits of the promenade, which is unacceptable because general users can't then use it when those activities are happening. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say this is as much about management as it is about income. The income will still be very modest, but it does acknowledge that there is a process to go through and that it needs to be done right. Matthew, any comments, questions? Okay, in that case, the recommendations are that the fees and charges be approved in accordance with the attached schedule in Appendix 1, so approved. Thank you very much. From here on in, we are looking at items that are for information only, and we move next to item 8, which is PCC support for armed forces and veterans.
Thank you very much. So this report details the work of the Council in supporting the armed forces and veteran communities. It highlights the long-standing naval heritage of the city and the dedicated work of Portsmouth as a leading member of the Solent Armed Forces Covenant Partnership. It highlights the work of the Covenant and the coordination of both the Hampshire Veterans Liaison and Diversion Steering Group, alongside national forums and programmes the city is a part of. It also references the Defence Employer Recognition Scheme, which Portsmouth City Council has held gold status since 2018. Mentions the annual commemorative events undertaken each year in the city, which is particularly poignant given we've just had Remembrance, and finally details support to charity organisations and relevant funding and investment in the city related to armed forces.
Thank you, Owen. Councillor Corley, anything?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just think this is a really important piece of work that's going to take place. I think we're very proud of our heritage here in Portsmouth, and I think this is a very good thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I thought it was really important. The reason I asked for this report to come is I so often see misinformation online about, particularly locally, but it's a national thing, about the both local and national government not prioritising veterans, and it's not true. Particularly in Portsmouth, we had a notice of motion last week, came to a week before, came to full council about Op Valor, which is a piece of work the government's leading on. Basically, they're modelling on exactly what we already do. To roll it out nationally. We are national leaders in our support for veterans. We link that in with the historic side of things through events and anniversaries. We also have a extremely well developed Armed Forces Day, which is supported by the defence business community. And the one thing I did want to draw particular attention to is, if anyone's watching this, I keep seeing people saying online that our veterans are sleeping rough on the streets. This does not happen in Portsmouth. There is no reason why a veteran in our city would need to be on the street. However, some people do not wish to come inside. That is a personal choice. Every single homeless person has to be treated individually. There is not a one-size-fits-all thing that says this works for all veterans or this works for all young people. It is different in every case. So you have to have a person-centred approach. We are aware that there were 2 veterans who were sleeping rough in the city in the last 12 months. Both had been offered support. Our job in those situations is to keep contact with them, to make sure that we're interacting and that they know that should they change their mind, that support is there. But it's really important that we do that in a sympathetic and empathetic way, and that we don't go around telling people what they should and shouldn't be doing. Personal and human choice is a really important part of this. So that's why there's a reference to that bit of work in here, and we're really proud that as a city we go above and beyond in those situations to support our veterans when they really need help. And I'm particularly proud of our partnership with Veteran Outreach Support, based down at the Royal Maritime Club, and the exceptional work that they do, and I'm hoping that they're going to be leading our cluster bid for this Solent area to make sure that we can continue to deliver the great work that we already do. So I just wanted to put that on the record because it's really important to me as the city's armed forces champion to let people know that we do care, we do get it, and we go above and beyond to make sure that our veterans are supported. And where the system doesn't work, we find ways to fix the system. So a really good report, a timely reminder just after remembrance of how important this work is, and thank you very much for bringing it to us today. Our next item is item 9, and that's over today for a roundup and review of this summer reading challenge this year.
Thank you, Leader. So Story Garden, there was this year's summer reading challenge. It's the 27th year that we've delivered the challenge in this format. Delighted to report that our number of children completing this year was 1,672, so slightly up on last year. It is a huge activity alongside Bookfest for libraries, a major activity in the library calendar. It's nearly a 12 3-month programme, nearly 35,000 children's books issued over the period, and really pleased that we had nearly 500 new library memberships this year from children, which is one of the highest figures that I can remember. That was, well upon last year. We support lots of young people with volunteering as well, which is fantastic CV building opportunity for them. So we had over 32 volunteers this year. A huge amount of activities, overwhelmingly free of charge for children and families, which are really highly valued. I think 74 children's activities, over 2,500 children and families attending. And the celebration events at Southsea Castle had over 3,000 people attending, and some of the feedback was very helpful and very positive that we received during the event. Slightly more Key Stage 1 pupils can take part than Key Stage 2, so 55% participation is Key Stage 1. So we'll be looking to see how we can improve that engagement of the junior school demographic. Next year is National Year of Reading, and the theme is going to be, of the reading challenge, will be Read to the Beat, so it's a music-based theme, so I'm hopeful of increased engagement there, and we'll be planning more broader family participation and new incentives to coincide with Portsmouth 100 celebrations.
I can't wait to see what you're going to do as part of the dancing bit, Dave.
I don't think we can foster that on the citizens of Portsmouth.
Councillor Cordy, any comments?
Thank you, Chair. I think it's great that the number of children participating has gone up from last year. But how do you plan on engaging even more children and families going forward? I know there was a figure that you said that you wanted to reach, Chair, wasn't it, 2,000? Is there a plan to try and drive towards that?
So I think it's just improving some of our visits to schools that we do. We still manage to get staff presence in schools. The key thing is parental engagement for us, which is why the Summer Reading Challenge Plus activity we do is very successful. And we'll be targeting more schools as well next year to engage them as well. So these are children that may not habitually be taken to a library in the summer holidays, and really and we do that with a big sense of, we're sensitive to the geography of the city, so we make sure that children in all regions of the city are getting the opportunity to take part.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, I love the Summer Reading Challenge. My daughter loves it. I think it's a great way to keep children motivated to read throughout the summer months when perhaps their minds are on other things. And well done to everybody involved. Thank you.
Also worth pointing out the legacy part of it, because 490 children joined the library for the first time in the summer, and that's children that will, in all likelihood, a good percentage of those will continue to engage, and it's that continuous chipping away all the time, making sure that the work that we do is leading children to the joy of reading. And through the literature quizzes and the book award at the King's and all these different things, it all gets children excited. I mean, the David Williams thing was quite an experience, I have to say. But all of that work cumulatively has that impact, and it's really important. And I was very, very pleased. I've just met the new Deputy Director of Education for Portsmouth City Council, who's just arrived in the city this week, and clearly gets and understands the importance of culture, which is brilliant. And I've stressed that we need to do more to get into the Portsmouth Cultural Education, more into the Portsmouth Education Partnership, to get the message across to those heads, to get them really promoting all the opportunities that we offer and getting more schools to take part, because there's no good always having the usual suspects. We need all the schools to participate, and he understood the value of that. And when I said I want to put the A back in STEM because it should be about STEAM, and talked about cultural engagement for young people both in and outside the classroom, he really clearly gets that and understands it. So I think we'll develop that partnership even more now and have libraries and education working hand in glove to try and push this forward, which is very encouraging. So I'll be following up on that over the next few weeks. So thank you very much, Dave. You know that the Summer Reading Challenge is a personal favourite of mine. I was somewhat dismayed that I couldn't actually make it to the winners' event this year, mainly because people would have thought that I'd just been doing some home decorating because I was dressed completely inappropriately and in the wrong place in the city at the wrong time. So I'll have to make sure that doesn't happen again. But thank you, and to all the team for the work that you do in delivering it is hugely appreciated. And we will get to 2,000 next year, even if I've got to go and do reading classes myself around the schools, something that I enjoy doing. Okay, next we have the North Portsea Public Arts Strategy and Update, and that's Harry Scott.
Efficiency savings made in the North Portsea Coastal Scheme have created what I think is quite an exciting opportunity to incorporate some public art into the scheme. So this report basically outlines our plans to bring public art into that area, which is otherwise underserved in terms of public art. The report sort of outlines the key areas that we're looking to deliver, and it makes clear that the commissions will be procured through an open competition process, advertised locally to encourage Portsmouth-based artists to apply.
Thank you, Harry. Matthew.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Harry. The information provided states that the £750,000 has been made available largely from project efficiencies. How much has come from efficiencies, and where has the rest of the money come from?
To my knowledge, it's all from project efficiencies. Yeah.
I think that's one of those semantics things. It's been written like that as a caveat, just in case 10p came from somewhere else, but it's all come from efficiencies, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool, and great to see this happening, and big up to the Sea Defences project team. coastal partners, etc., for having delivered the project under budget and enabling this to happen. And good that it will go through that open process so that people can see how that's been procured. But also, I'm very aware that there is a tight timescale for this to be applied as funding, so we do need to crack on with it and not have an endless debate about how that looks. So really look forward to seeing those projects developed, particularly excited by the fox sculptures and Fox's Forest and the Hillsey area is an asset for the whole city. I go up there, or I used to go up there when I had a dog, and I intend to when I get the next one. It's a wonderful area to wander around and takes you out of that feel that you are in a city and gives you that natural environment, and it would be great to see that enhanced. So thank you for the update. Large-scale sailing events, we're back with Claire Looney this time.
Councillor Pitt, thank you very much. This report is a short summary of the fairly unprecedented level of international sailing events the city welcomed this summer. In essence, we had an opportunity to welcome 3 very large-scale big events which are part of the international circuit, and these are the Sail GP, the Ocean Race Europe, and the Clip Around the World race. And from our perspective, I think it really stresses the importance of Portsmouth in that international sailing calendar. The fact that we have a venue, or venues, plural, depending on what type of event the event is, where we can host these large-scale events, but also how it impacts and provides important opportunities for things like the Solent Marine Cluster, the amount of secondary spend that it brings into the city through accommodation, restaurants and things like that, but also the unprecedented level of city profile, which actually is around the world. So this is a very short summary which just talks about those 3 events and provides a bit of context into them going forward.
Thank you, Claire. Councillor Corley.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Claire. What challenges were faced during the Sail GP event this year, and how will they be addressed for future events? I know when we spoke about the kids sailing had to be put off, didn't it? Was it due to weather, I think you said, Claire, when we had our pre-meeting?
Thank you. All these events have different challenges, it would be fair to say. And a lot of them are part of a number of events that take place over a limited calendar period of time for those events. What we are trying to do is maximise the way in which the land is used, to maximise that public access to the land, also fit in the coastal defence works, which are still, as you've referenced earlier, ongoing. So it's a big jigsaw, and each event has to be treated individually. We have to look at what they want to achieve, along with what assets we have, how they can be utilised, and how we can maintain that public access as long as we can. It is always difficult. There will always be health and safety concerns, and in some instances at the Sail GP event, they had very large infrastructure that needed to go up. In order to do that safely, therefore, there was another consideration about which areas they could use and when and how. All these discussions happen all the time with large-scale events, be they sailing events or any other type of events. So for us, we just look at each individual event, look at what they want to achieve and how it can best fit with everything else, because we are aware that for a lot of people that public open space across the seafront is really important, and how it operates in this summer season is really critical. For many people, it's their back gardens because they don't have garden spaces, as well as those visitors into the city. So it's about a balance. It's about trying to ensure that parts of the seafront aren't so busy while other bits may be having events, about trying, if we can, to spread the events, which we were able to do this summer. So you had July and then 2 at different parts of August. So it's and then all the other events that fit in around that. So it's not just the sailing events in that instance. Thank you.
It's a complex jigsaw puzzle, making it all fit and trying to balance it with the needs of the local community who just want to access open space, and it is something that we bear in mind at all times. But it is also extremely important that we are enabling the city to be a showcase for global events, because with all the work that Jane and David do, being able to say that Portsmouth is a destination for global sporting activity in particular really does help with that tourism offer, and making sure that people that know that Portsmouth is a fantastic place to visit. We used to see that years ago with the Great South Run when it was on Channel 4 and year in, year out. That's actually why the route was designed the way it was, so that people could experience the views of the whole city. And things like Sail GP are giving us those opportunities now, and we need to make sure that we are taking them. It was an extremely exciting event, not without its challenges, as Claire identifies, but that saying that Portsmouth is the premier destination for international sailing and ocean racing events in the UK, which I feel that we now very firmly are with SailGP coming back next year, is not something we should underestimate. So moving on, thank you for that. We are now moving neatly on to the tourism and visitor economy update from Jane.
Hi, thank you. Yes, so this report just gives an update on activity between April and September this year. It gives some indication of successes we've had in press. Some have been paid advertising in The Guardian, and also David quite often will write copy which gets picked up by a number of magazines, which is just free coverage for the city, which is great. Main seasons campaigns ran in May, June and July at London Waterloo and through our own digital channels, and the full results are in the report that's attached to Appendix 1. The campaign generated almost 23.8 million impressions from its digital out-of-home display boards in London, which was a really good over-delivery of more than 12.5 million impressions, which was rather fortuitous for us because there's a domination campaign that came in and pushed our campaign to a different time, but meant that we could really negotiate more coverage at no more cost. The digital element had driven a further 3.8 million impressions, reaching 2.2 million people and driving more than 58,000 clicks through to the Visit Portsmouth website. The website itself has been completely refreshed this year, and we relaunched in September, which it also now has a bespoke Portsmouth 100 section, which will cover all the centenary coverage as we go forward. There's more information about website and social media traffic in the report. We continue to support our partners around the group and MICE, which is Meetings, Incentives, Conferences and Events Markets, with regular trade updates, and we've joined again the Meet Beyond London campaign with Tourism South East. We continue to support the international port. We work closely with them. Key is the cruise market and the ferry market, and we jointly were both at the SailGP Race Village promoting the city. Most of our international marketing takes place in the second half of the year, and we'll be able to update on that at the next report. Local partnerships are really crucial to what we do, and the funding they provide through membership enables us to run these large-scale out-of-home campaigns that take place every year, and to also create the Visit Portsmouth visitor guides and mini guides, which are funded purely through that membership income. In May, we were pleased to announce that we now have a nationally accredited local visitor economy partnership in the county of Hampshire, and we're currently working with partners across that area to develop our initial destination management plan. And the report also lists a range of activities that we have done to support both our internal colleagues across the council and also across the region, and the importance, as mentioned, of events in raising the city's profile, such as Victorious and the 3 sailing events we had this year. And additionally, we have just passed 1 million sessions on the Visit Portsmouth website this annual year.
Brilliant. Save the best till last there, Jane. Matt?
Thank you, Chair. No questions, just congratulations on these figures. I think they're really impressive and well done.
Thank you.
Cool. Just to add, the final element running in 2026 around the promotion of Portsmouth 100, obviously really important, and an exciting programme being developed for that, not least the recent news that we've secured £250,000 through National Lottery Heritage Fund for the Portsmouth 100 exhibition at Portsmouth Museum and Art Gallery. And I just wanted to draw people's attention to 3.11 and congratulate David on being a finalist in the Digital Campaign Excellence Awards. Well done to you. Nothing else on that one? Then we'll thank you both, and we'll move on to item 13, which is Steve Curtis on Multiply.
Thank you, Leader. This report is of the third and final year of the Multiply programme, which was a revenue fund from central government, a fixed amount, wasn't competitively bid for. It is aimed at those aged 19 and over that previously had not attained a level 2 qualification in maths. We received over £1 million over the course of the programme, and just 376,000 in year 3. We provided the multiplier provision ourselves through our internal provision, the Learning Place, and also following competitive tendering, we worked with 3 other organisations to provide across the city. I don't know if it's clear in the report, but all the provision was face-to-face following. We did try online in year 1, but since year 1 it's all been face-to-face. And in the report we've tried to stress that although there were 4 multiplied providers, there were dozens of organisations across the city involved, community providers, our own council departments, and also a number of schools. And they've been listed in here. And that's probably the true legacy, I think, of the multiplier, really, as well as the learners, some of those networks that have been built over the course of the programme between organisations in the city. And those organisations that perhaps haven't seen a role in maths and education have ever had an opportunity to be involved. I've included a case study of one of the learners. We thought it was important because the majority of the learners didn't just do multiply, it was multiply as part of a wider package of learning that they were doing. The multiply programme concluded in March of this year. We're quite proud as a team that we maximised throughout the programme the spend. Some local authorities didn't really take full advantage of this opportunity. And last year we spent every penny of our allocation, and we could have spent more if there had been more. We've included some statistics there. So over 6,700 people were engaged over the programme. Some of those were quite small groups, maybe just 2 people on a course. Some of those might have been attending a community event. Over 4,000 were what we call substantive learners, so they had at least 2 hours of learning, but there are many learners that had many dozens of hours out of their multiply provision. And as well as the connections that have been made, I think the other lesson and legacy really has been some of the innovation that's been provided by some of the providers, in particular some of the stuff the citizens' advice have done with care leavers that I witnessed myself personally that was really creative and of real value.
Thanks, Steve. Matt?
Thank you, Chair. It's amazing to hear that over 4,000 people have benefited from this, and as you say, this is ended now. Is there a programme in place from the council that are going to use the legacy from this to push forward and continue something in the future?
Not a definitive, discrete programme, but as I say, the learning of the organisations working together, our own provision at the Learning Place, working with organisations. The funding gave an opportunity to make connections and work in a different way. So though there's not money to do a similar thing, those lessons have kind of been learnt and embedded. So yes, I hope that answers.
Cool. Thanks, Steve. I'm just going to go back to that fact that the average that local authorities defrayed was about 68%, and ours it was 2%, 0.02% under 100. So that just goes to show how much effort went into making sure that we got the maximum benefit out of the funding.
Yeah, I think having the in-house provision certainly helped out there, but also having providers in the city that were able to take it on. It wasn't hard to find people to spend the money.
I'm going to ask Jane to come in. Jane, in terms of all the education and skills stuff that we deliver, because this sits with you, how much of it is actually entirely dependent on grant funding?
100%.
Exactly. So this is not something that we as a council get any core funding for at all. We have to be out there making sure that any funding pots that are available to deliver adult education for our residents, that we grab them. And I'd love to see the government bring forward a really good quality programme around adult literacy, because I think that is the next big problem. As I kept saying during Multiply, it's a brilliant programme, but if the people can't read the flipping question, then being good at maths isn't terribly helpful. So sorry, Rishi, you got it wrong. Maths is not the most important skill. Reading is the most important skill, and maths is the second most important skill. So I would like to see some emphasis from this government on moving forward with some more developed literacy programmes, particularly for adults and older young people. Okay, thank you very much, Steve, and well done to the whole team who delivered Multiply. I know there was a huge amount of passion and commitment went into it, and the outcomes were exceptional. We now move on to item 14. Now, it says on here that it will be led by Steph Parker, but I happen to know she's actually leading a conference just up the road that I was speaking at and then ran here. So I'm assuming, Jane, that you'll be leading on this, and that's the Skills and Labour Market Strategy.
So that will save me giving Steph's apologies, because unfortunately this ended up with a clash, because this was supposed to be at a previous meeting originally. So this is the final review of the Skills and Labour Market Strategy 2020 to 2025, and early in the next year you will receive in this meeting the updated strategy that will take us up to 26. Obviously this was released just as we moved into COVID, so you'll appreciate that some of the baseline data not only includes the impact of COVID, but also the exceptional complexities that came out of that. However, we have seen some very significant wins and some concerning trends over the last 5 years. So most remarkably is our economic inactivity, or rather our economic activity, which has increased by a remarkable 11.9% to 81.9% against a national average of 78.4% during the time of this strategy. That shows the exceptional partnership that goes across the city, across skills providers, DWP and our unemployment provision, to help our most vulnerable residents access work. Economic inactivity focuses on those adults that are not so much unemployed but have barriers into the employment market, and we're very excited and proud of the impact that that's had, taking us above the national average. Colleagues will no doubt be very familiar with the Get Britain Working strategies that came out last year, and we were the first in the UK to publish in July 25, with everyone else having to publish by September. That Get Solent Working Plan, because it's part of our functioning economic area, targets how we reach the target of 80% economic activity. We're already above it, but it would be naive to be complacent within that. Maintaining that level of economic activity for our adults is a constant battle, and that work is absolutely key to moving forward. Over the time period, we have seen unemployment move up to 4.6 from 3.7, so in real terms, a 0.6% increase since 2019. As you can imagine, the data's been fairly complex over that time period. More concerning against the national picture, although again reflecting trends, is the increase of NEET, so that's young people who are not in education, employment and training. And there's some very specific partnership work now going on, which will reflect in our next strategy around NEET Zero, working with DWP, and that includes education colleagues who will be opening a new DWP Youth Hub from January 26. Residents with no qualifications was showing a small but steady decline since 2019, going from 6.9 to 5.7 in 22. But we have a change in data more recently that's showing us at 7.3. So there's some significant work to focus on our most disadvantaged. But I am delighted to share the very significant increase in adults who have achieved level 2 across the city, going from 33.1% to 40.3%, showing that really exceptional trend through the use of apprenticeships, working with adult skills providers, and our university work to ensure that our adults are now only 0.4% below a very concerning national average. Again, complacency is not a place to be. It is a constant battle to promote that raising aspiration piece that we see go across various directorates. I don't know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Jane. Matthew. Couple of things just to pull out. I know you referenced them at speed, so I'm going to slow it down and just revisit them. Those employment numbers going from 70.8 to 81.9 is massive, and I've literally just come across from giving a speech about this at a Future Portsmouth conference that's happening today, and it is the reason these things happen when people say, well, we can't exactly put our finger on it. I can. It's called #Team Portsmouth, and it is about everybody doing their bit to work together to make sure that we're doing every single thing we possibly can to make sure that people are meaningfully employed, to make sure that they have the skills that they need to get employment in the first place, and that we're offering skills pathways and opportunities, particularly for our young people, to access employment. So that none of this happens by accident. It happens because a lot of people are working very, very hard, both from within the council but also from our partners across the city. There's a big thank you from me for all the effort that's gone into that. I note the rise in unemployment, I note the needs issues, and yes, we mustn't be complacent. We need to keep working very, very hard. But if we can see that there are 2,000 more jobs created in the city since 2021, that's not a small figure, and it's very important. And again, it's above the national average. So we're actually at 0.91 and the national average is 0.87. So we're punching above our weight in that area. And also the skills qualifications around level 4 benchmark in 2019, it was only 33.1. And we've grown it to over 40%. And then attainment has grown to 46.9%, putting Portsmouth only 0.4% below the national average. These are all major steps forward. And yes, we've got a lot more work to do. The opportunities that the mayoralty offers to get more investment in to do these things and to have more strategic leadership across the county, because not everybody is going to live in Portsmouth and work in Portsmouth. They will travel. There is something called the travel to work area, so we need to be working across the wider region to deliver this. But it's great progress, and every single person that's played a part in it should be very pleased. So thank you. And we come on to item 15, which is, Becky, you've got an update for us on Portsmouth High Street.
Thank you. So the report was a review of the focus work to support the development of high streets and district areas within Portsmouth boundaries, to recognise the council's focus on supporting the businesses and areas as community builders. The place-based work is led by the Place and Markets Manager, which is me, and relies on support from 2 FTE Economic Development team, who are delivering all business support, including the PCC Business Helpline, and inward investment work across the city and external partners. The report includes a specific record of the support right across the city for the development of high streets and district centres as part of our place-based development of the city. I'm not going to go into all of the specific projects, they're all there. I think the development that is at the top of my list is the city centre bid business improvement district. We are making great headway. We've got a lot of support from the businesses in the city centre, and we are moving towards a March ballot.
Thank you, Becky. And I met with the Vice-Chancellor at the University yesterday, who's assured me that the University are behind the bid, which is great news, as they are a major footprint in our city centre. And I know it's not been easy to get the community ignited behind it, but the work that's gone on is really important. And we need to, this is a massive opportunity for our city centre to move forward. Pretty much every day I read something online about, oh, the city centre, commercial road, and people saying, moaning about it. I understand. Shopping has fundamentally changed. The way people interact with their high streets has fundamentally changed. It's not a Portsmouth thing, it's a global thing. It's happened everywhere. We also don't own the shops. So that does limit our ability to intervene. But when you look at things like the pop-up in Cascades and the fact that we've used that as an incubator to help grow, not just grow the business, but grow the confidence of the business owners and operators, and moving on into other more permanent arrangements and spaces. We've got Journeys that have just gone in there, I know. It's their first experience of trying high street retail. That's how you do it. You grow businesses and get their confidence and get them into units. When I see nonsense, and it is frankly nonsense, I don't care who's offended by it, online about we want Woolworths back. Well, sorry folks, but Woolworths doesn't exist. Or we want Debenhams back. Sorry folks, it's an online offer now. They closed all their shops. These are not things that Portsmouth has the ability to change and influence. What we can do is help our amazing local traders and local micro businesses to develop and become high street retailers if that works for them. And we can do that in a way that doesn't ask them to take out long leases and risk huge amounts of money on renting units. And we can also make sure that we keep the high street and the city centre clean, that we've got a business improvement district that hopefully will pass on the ballot, and that enables those businesses to take a greater degree of control collectively over their own destiny, and that we can move the high street forward. But if you're hoping that we're going to create some kind of retail theme park like it was in the 1960s, that ain't happening, folks. So we've got to get real, and we've got to make sure. And I was really upset yesterday to read a really long series of negative comments with people encouraging visitors not to come to Portsmouth. It's ridiculous. If you are moaning about the high street, well, the high street only gets better if more people go to it. It doesn't get better if you tell people not to visit the city at all. So I think give your heads a wobble on that one. We've got the electric stuff going into Cosham in the not too distant future, and thank you to the Cosham councillors who've worked with us on that. Work's progressing around Castle Road with that public realm due to be completed in the new year, which will make it even easier for them to hold the events programme that we do. The stuff that's happened around the Bridge Centre is phenomenal, and I don't think there's a single empty unit in there now. I think it's fully let, whereas it was like a ghost town before we bought it. We've got the business centre at the north of Commercial Road, which is now doing fantastic work with Urbond in there delivering youth provision and Citrus. I saw Dan yet again this morning. He's an ever-present face in the city now, which is brilliant as a local business engaging with the Team Portsmouth stuff. And they're in there, and we've also got Impress up on the 3rd floor. So that's brought a great meanwhile use to that facility. Lots of things are happening. We've been supported with Gunwolf Keys and the Portsmouth pop-up. And I know that another local business, Fossil Thieves, recently gone in there and are doing well. We've got some more improvements we still want to make around Guildhall Walk. And we recently finished, thank you to Abby and David for the work in Milton, making the pavements accessible, because it was a really disjointed mess over there. And we've just about completed the work over in Tangier Road in Baffins as well. So there's a lot happening. And it's not fair to say that the council does not care, because they do. And Becky, I want to thank you for all the work that you do, and to all the teams that step up and support you on those key times, such as Southsea Food Festival and the Christmas light switch-ons, because all these things matter.
Thank you.
And that, folks, concludes today's meeting. So thank you very much for being here. If you've been watching online, thank you for listening to my rantings and ramblings. It's appreciated, and thank you very much to Councillor Cordy for being with us today. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you.